Hello everyone, I apologize for not being available for this first sync session. If after viewing my presentation, which I've sent a link where I posted it on YouTube, you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. I wanted to go into my first slide, which is the introduction slide, and I wanted to highlight that it's important to understand what a snapshot is, right? A VMware snapshot is a copy of the virtual machine's disk file at a given point. And snapshots provide a change log for the virtual disk that could be used as restore points in a particular time when a failure or system error occurs, or even when there's a purposeful need to roll back the virtual system back to a time of preference. And I think that it's important to understand that snapshots don't necessarily provide backup. I think that sometimes people are under the illusion that a snapshot could have some backup functionality, but in reality, it should never be used as in the purpose of what a real backup should do. And I wanted to highlight that this PowerPoint will demonstrate some of the common core snapshot applications that could be used. And in addition to providing more specific usage in development and academic institutions. Application developers in academic environments need to often build virtual workstations and servers in order to simulate production network environments. And there's also a need to simulate loads for applications or to use academic or for other academic purposes. The VMware snapshots help correct mistakes in workstation testing and development environments, which undergo frequent changes and require regular patches and quality assurance testing. And before taking a snapshot, however, it's important to understand how they will work and how they will differ from traditional backups. The applications of snapshots can take many forms. In order to help in testing, it's always convenient to have an initial build as a snapshot that could be called the golden image. Untainted by patches or updates, just imagine if you painted an entire room and didn't like the color, or the way it sat on any of your walls. It would be awesome if you could just hit the light switch and the walls would return back to their pre-painted state, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? It'd certainly save you a lot of grief. Even if you only painted one wall and just say, you know what, how could I just undo that mistake? Well, it turns out that, we could all benefit from that type of concept. Especially developers who use snapshots as a way to showcase different iterations of changes to an application before they're committed to further development. And changes in the development cycle are occurring at lightning speed, and DevOps processes can make dozens of or even hundreds of changes to an application daily. And developers can use the snapshots to understand at what point the code development started maybe going off on an undesirable state. For example, a customer introduces a change in an application during a development cycle, and now they need to either roll back or they need to apply these changes momentarily and understand what those changes are before committing them. So these VMware snapshots is one of the things that we need to consider is that the size of the VMware snapshots. A majority of these snapshots could become unwieldy, and the liability in all this is the number of permutations that the snapshots could take in storage consumption. So one of the things that's very important to do is ensuring that snapshots are used when necessary and ultimately are used accordingly to the function. There are always drawbacks associated with the uses of any technology, and most disk subsystems perform a great job at detecting and correcting or mitigating disk block level issues. However, if you take a snapshot of a disk array before the autocorrection is done, you could stand a chance to lose some kind of data. So it's always important to start performing nightly deep scans of your disk array in order to ensure that any of these bad blocks are spotted and corrected immediately. And snapshots should follow some best practices, especially in academia, where students should only use one snapshot and then remove it when it's no longer needed. if you have a large chain of 20 or 30 Delta files, the snapshots could just become unmanageable, and you won't know what iteration of a snapshot is the one that you need. And if you just have a small number of snapshots, it's just easier in order to use them effectively. And also, if you don't have a small number of snapshots, it could become a disaster trying to remove them. Snapshots also take a great deal of space, and the more snapshots you take, the more impact it has on your storage platforms. And too many snapshots could quickly become just, unmanageable. So snapshots can become abandoned over time, and snapshots may also contain confidential information. It could pose a risk if these snapshots were compromised. And snapshots are portable, and and they're small enough to be put on a USB device and mounted somewhere else. So these are considerations that you should take. That these snapshots, while they might be in a disk and they might be behind some access controls, it's always a possibility that we might have an unauthorized employee, take a snapshot just because they have access to this file space and take it off premise. And the worst thing about it is that there's no indication that that snapshot has been removed from the share where it's located. And snapshots are like firewall rules, right? Inevitably, people create snapshots just like they create rules within a rule base. In my entire experiences in information security, it's seldom that we go back and disable a firewall rule. We just continue to expand firewall rules, and the snapshots are very similar. They're so easy to perform that people don't think twice about just continuing to perform snapshots, and before you know it, you're overwhelmed with the number of snapshots and where they're located. And unfortunately, in your attempts to try to do cleanup, you wind up just deleting all of the snapshots or a majority of them, not realizing which ones you actually need or not, because you've been told by the server team these snapshots are consuming too much disk space and they need to be removed. So the next couple of slides represent the references that I used to support this sync session. And again, feel free to reach out to me or to the professor if you have any questions. Thank you.